Hey, what's up everybody? This is Coach Chris here with Beyond Strength Performance Nova here in Dulles, Virginia. And in this week's video, we're going to talk about building to the ab wheel rollout. We're not just going to show you the ab wheel rollout and say, get after it. We're going to show you the most common mistake that we see people make in the gym with regards to learning the ab wheel rollout. And then we're going to show you some step-by-step incremental movements to build to the full ab wheel rollout. So number one, what's that mistake? People have a hard time differentiating spinal movement versus hip and shoulder movement. Whenever we do ab wheel rollouts, our spine really should not go into extension or into flexion. It's going to stay neutral, and the movement's going to come from our hips and our shoulders, okay? And what we do is we use an awesome drill called a quadruped cat-cow to give people some context so that they can feel the difference between the two. So all that you're going to do is you're going to come down into what's called a quadruped position here. And the first thing is we're going to do this quadruped cat. So just think of if you've ever seen a scared cat before, they're going to go ahead and round their back way up, okay? So this would be going into flexion through our spine. The opposite would be, think of the cow. The udders are going to hang down low, and they're going to have a big scoop in their back. And this would be quadruped cow, okay? So this, if we go back and forth, is going to give us some context to be able to feel spinal movement without really having movement at the hips and shoulders. Again, this is what we don't want to do, but rather than just have you feel what we don't want to do, from this position we can go straight into what we kind of do want to do, which is movement from the hips and shoulders with minimal movement at the spine. Because this is going to carry over into all the variations that we're about to show of the ab wheel rollout. So the first thing that we would need someone to do when learning the ab wheel rollout or any of its variations is demonstrate the ability to do what's called quadruped rocking without losing control of their spine. All right, so this first variation that we're going to do is called a tall kneeling stability ball rollout. In order to do that, I'm going to need a stability ball. All right, so the tall kneeling stability ball rollout, we're going to go ahead and set up in a tall kneeling position, which is simply on both knees with a straight line from our knees up through to our shoulders. We're going to maintain that straight line throughout the entire movement. You'll notice that I am up on my toes, but for some people this causes a little bit of knee pain. If you experience that, simply lay the shoelaces down flat to take tension off of the knees, okay? From here, what we're going to do, again, maintain this tall posture. We're going to place our hands on the stability ball with our arms extended. If I want to make this easier, I start with my hands on top. As I become more efficient with this, I can increase the difficulty by starting to bring my hands down lower to the side of the ball. The movement is simply maintaining this straight line again. As we lean forward, rolling our arms out onto the ball, we should not lose control of our spine. So just like that quadruped cat-cow drill that we just showed, our spine should not move. The movement here is going to be a little bit different than the ab wheel rollout in that it's coming from our knees and our shoulders. It's not necessarily movement of the hips yet, but this is a great drill to build to the ab wheel rollout. The next drill that we're going to use to build to the ab wheel rollout is a TRX rollout. What we like about the TRX is the arcing motion of the TRX. Because it's hung up here, as I bring it forward, it actually goes up and gets higher, which makes it a little bit easier. It's a great teaching tool building to the ab wheel. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to come down, and this is where we're finally going to use the hip and shoulders synchronized movement. So we're going to get into that quadruped position to start. And so that should mean that from here, the TRX is hanging straight down, and our shoulders are essentially straight over our hands, and our hips should be relatively over our knees. And now this is where we're finally going to simultaneously bring our hips forward and let our hands go out. Same thing, show control like we did with that quadruped position. We're going to go forward. We should not really have movement at the spine. It should be coming from our hips and our shoulders. Once we demonstrate proficiency with this, we're ready to move on to the next one. So our next rollout progression is going to involve the actual ab wheel now, and we're going to use anything that we can stop ourselves against. So it could be a wall, it could be a kettlebell, a dumbbell, anything that we can touch to keep from rolling out too far. This is for when someone has trouble controlling the eccentric portion, the lengthening portion of the ab wheel. You hit a point where like, whoop, you fall out, and then there's no coming back from that, okay? What we want to use the kettlebell for is to just kind of touch it, maintain our tension, and then come back to the start. So we start in that quadruped position, we come out, and we come back. You'll notice again that it's synchronized movement of the hips and shoulders. Incorrect would be letting my shoulders go forward or just letting my hips go forward, which are two common mistakes we see. Again, that comes back to that quadruped position. Are we making spinal movement, or are we making synchronized movement of the hips and shoulders? As this distance becomes easy, I would simply back up from my target just a little bit. I go back, I set up exactly the same way. I find my quadruped position. I go ahead, roll out, find the kettlebell, the wall, whatever I'm using, and come back. Once I get to the point where I've backed up so far that I've essentially done the entire ab wheel rollout, I'm then ready to get rid of the target. All right, and now we put it together into the full ab wheel rollout. We're simply going to start off in our quadruped position. It's going to be synchronized movement of the hips and shoulders like we just did in the prior example, and come back to that position that we started in. Our start position should be the same as our finish position. Remember, it's movement from the hips and shoulders that happens simultaneously. We get to our bottom position, and then we drive back to the start. And that's how we build the full ab wheel rollout. Again, this is Coach Chris with Beyond Strength Performance Nova here in Dulles, Virginia, and we'll talk soon.